Your group sure can drink, Mr. Hausman.
Yeah, that's the bar after a conference. Lots of people hanging out to the bitter end.
Well, here's the bill.
Hey, where'd everybody go?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this week's No Vacancy with me, Glenn Hausman. I am once again thrilled to have you here with me, as you are every single week. I think fans are starting to become legion. Well, all right, I don't know about that, but I also always wanted to say legion in opening of a show. I hope everybody is having a great time. We're deep in the middle of summer. Everyone's starting to feel a little lazy. I think I've gotten a little soft, hanging out at the pool too much, but there's nothing that shakes me out of my summer stupor than a great conversation with Mr. Bruce Ford, and that's why I have him back today. How are you, sir?
Glenn, happy July.
Hey.
How have you been, my friend?
I'm doing good. You should say happy end of July, as the show's coming out on July 28th. I cannot believe summer is mostly done.
Didn't you just open your pool last week?
It seems like it. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty great. We've been having a lot of fun over here at the Hausman Pool Club Resort and Smokehouse all summer long. Lots of guests coming in and out and enjoying the facilities here. And I'll tell you something, Bruce. It is sad that the last couple of weeks it seems it's been cold and not really feeling very July around here.
Yeah, it's been a little cool up here in New England as well, and but I'm okay with that. I like my dash of 90 in the summer, but I'm more of a 75 to 85 guy myself.
Well, I totally get that. I respect that. But being that I've got this pool that I'm paying for, I want it to be hot every single day of the year and just have people enjoying it. Fortunately, I had a group of 6 kids yesterday hanging out in the pool for 2 hours, which was a lot of fun. Although it was tough getting work done and making sure they didn't drown each other. So, that was a little rough.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Before we get into our conversation today, and we got lots of great stuff to talk about, I did want to say make sure that you follow me at Traveling Glenn online, and don't forget to follow this guy at BFINNH. Bruce Ford in New Hampshire is what that stands for on the Twitters there. Also, make sure you read my stuff in hotel management, and I'm happy to say HereToStay.tv is finally up, so you can check out all of my video interviews, even though it's in beta form right now, at HereToStay.tv. And come on, give me a little bit of a 5-star review on iTunes and all of that kind of good stuff. And of course, be sure to follow up and visit our sponsor, Kevin Barry Fine Art, at www.kevinbarryfineart.com. I know they will do right by you and artwork. All right, Bruce, let's get into it. You got hot and fresh numbers. It is Q2 numbers. New construction is out. So I'm curious to see what is going on in hotel construction land.
Well, there's a lot to say about the hotel economy today, Glenn. Certainly, we're now 6 months into the new presidency. So there was, some expectation about what may occur, and there really hasn't been much that has occurred.
I got to tell you, so far it's been smooth with no controversies, and it's just been a pleasure the last 6 months.
Well, passing laws and changing things, they haven't really done much of that. I think they approved a Supreme Court justice, but I'm pretty sure they cheated to do that too. So just change the rules. It doesn't work.
Hey, Bruce, your politics are showing, buddy.
Okay, very good. But we're also here in a time where we have had now 7 years of operating performance, continued improvement, and that is still showing. We have some public hotel companies that have put out earnings here in the past few days, and they're all beating the street estimates for 2Q. So that's a positive sign. However, when you get down to Main Street, there are a few contributing factors. Number one, cost of labor and the cost of materials is up.
Right.
And finding quality labor to build your hotel is an issue.
Yeah, construction prices are definitely going up. We're seeing this happen in terms of new home starts, too. I mean, there's so many of those that there's only a limited amount of people that can do building at any single time. And I would like to thank 1970s America for for making sure that everybody was supposed to go to college and not work with their hands. So, hey, thanks on that one.
It is, it's a constrained labor market at the trades level right now to find quality labor. So that has slowed some things down. So the end result of that, Glenn, is we didn't have as many construction starts in the first half as we thought we might have. And it led to kind of a flat pipeline result of 2Q versus 1Q. Mm-hmm. We're still up 7% on projects and 5% on rooms year over year. The pipeline is still near 600,000 rooms.
Right.
But the quarter-over-quarter bounce that we would have necessarily seen has not occurred. So as a result, today we put out the 2019 forecast, and it's going to sound very similar to the 2018 forecast. And our latest notes are 2017 opens expected to be 114,000 rooms, nearly 115,000, 133,000 in 2018, and 137,000 odd in 2019. So still a climb. 2019 would be about 2.5% increase in supply. Again, not onerous and not overwhelming, okay? But a lot of the reasons that is the case is simply because we're building smaller hotels, more efficient hotels, less full-service hotels. Urban Center Select Service very much has its place out there today, and we're tracking 360 projects today that are what we call shared site developments, where they're doing multiple brands on a given site, whether it's the second hotel of 2 or the second hotel of 3, or they're building a hotel in the same 2 in the same building. And one factor that was notable when looking at that, Glenn, is that it's actually crossing franchise companies too.
What do you mean by that?
So there are projects where there's an IHG brand and a Hilton brand being put together
in the same building.
Yes.
Whoa.
On the shared site kind of situation.
Well, I get shared site, like, hey, I've got 3 acres and I've got one hotel and then I'm building another complete building next to it, and they're not from the same company. But you're telling me that now they're building single structures with brands from different companies housed within it?
Well, you have to be cautious on that, Glenn. I mean, what this really means is that the extended stay and the select service pairing going together is happening. Okay, and if the buildings share a wall, okay, I mean, yes, in technicality, you may be there, Glenn, but I think really what this is showing is that the developers are willing to put some extended stay model rooms together with some select service model rooms and share the staff, share the facilities, share the site. And the guests want it. The guests like it.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that this has moved from the category of being an interesting wrinkle in the development community to becoming a pretty strong trend and nearly becoming kind of a standard thought when plotting out a property or properties.
I think that, extended stay has a further demand push to make, and this has really helped. I think being able to put extended stay together with select service, where you can offer apartment-style guest rooms or, larger guest rooms with separate eating, living, and sleeping areas, doesn't put as much pressure on your suites inside of a select service hotel, but it also offers, that flexibility in how you deal with the demand that's coming to the site.
Right.
And where to put them and how to house them best.
Right.
But I've also heard some of my business traveler friends say that they're starting to select extended stay hotels in urban centers because you just got more room.
Yep.
And everybody likes a couch where you don't have to watch TV on the bed and that kind of thing. And if you want to cook some popcorn, you can. If you want to, make some breakfast, you can. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility.
Right.
As a business traveler that spends a lot of time on the road and in urban centers, it just feels better.
Right. Couple of things that I learned from that. Number one, that you feel pushing a button on a microwave is cooking. I'm impressed with that, Bruce Ford. And number two is a great place for me to plug once again Here to Stay TV, which is actually focused on extended stay service departments. And if you want to learn all about how that business is coming together and developing and moving forward as a viable stay and investment opportunity, here to stay.tv is your way to go. Sorry for the shameless plug. It's my show. I got to do it every once in a while. But Bruce,
I even saw hotel management cover a story, Glenn, about a Best Western property that's going to have executive stay apartments and a Best Western Plus platform put together.
Interesting. So let's just explain what that is, because Best Western Executive Stay is not yet in the hospitality vernacular. That is the extended stay apartment type offering from Best Western International.
Yes, and they're pairing it together in Texas, and they are under construction with the project. Total units will be about 75.
Right. Small
platform, highway location, but it does speak to the fact that, this isn't just Hilton and Marriott. This is Hilton, Marriott, IHG, Hyatt, Choice has a platform on this as well. And so does Best Western. So
yeah, and Bruce, before you go on, speaking of Best Western, I just got a note a few minutes before we started recording that Best Western Hotels and Resorts just broke ground on its first Glow property in Texas. So it's good to see that brand starting to take off.
Yes, and they have the quote, I guess, lifestyle and boutique offerings both with Glow and Vibe, and they intend to push those throughout the United States. And Best Western has really, gone through so much evolution in the past 3 or 4 years, Glenn, where they were a one-brand company, and now they're as many as 7.
Yes, well, they introduce a new brand pretty much every year at this point.
Yes, and that's a big change, and it really has changed their platform of offerings. It's changed their capability to penetrate a market with multiple locations, and I think it's really been a nice boon for that company.
Yep, you're right. So they've got the 7 regular brands plus the Shore Stay hotel ones, which is 3
correct,
separate brands.
Which is kind of a conversion brand. So some other statistics that may be compelling for the marketplace, Glenn, we do not have any markets today that have 100 hotels under construction, although New York still leads.
Yeah, I was about to say, what about New York? It seems like they've got, if not 100, then, 98 and a half.
96, Glenn, actually.
Oh, wow.
16,959 rooms under construction in New York. If you looked at the number of keys, the next market with the most rooms under construction will be Dallas, with 7,935 rooms under construction, followed closely by Los Angeles now with 6,211 rooms under construction. We have, again, 6 markets now with 100 projects, and we're seeing, I think, at the CBD level, Glenn, a resurgence of interest in the CBD, the pairing together the select service and the extended stay products in these cities, and that's starting to even spread out into the second-tier markets like Baltimore, Indianapolis, Oakland, Columbus. Some of these second-tier cities getting these urban center developments with the select service brand is certainly happening, and we're also starting to see it at airports too, Glenn.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question then, Bruce. If it's becoming more frequent to create 2 properties instead of 1 within the same building, how does that change the way that the new construction pipeline should be looked at? Does that mean we're getting twice as many hotels, but only 50% more rooms? And how should it all be interpreted going forward?
Well, we're within about 600 hotels projects of the last peak, but we're still almost 200,000 rooms behind.
That is a colossal gaping difference. I should say chasm is a better word.
Most of that is that more efficient, smaller hotel.
Yeah.
And most of that is, we really haven't had a new, full-service brand really grow at a rate that has affected the pipeline. There have been new full-service brands announced, okay, but it comes out and prints out a little bit more like upscale, which is kind of more select service than it does luxury or upper upscale.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the luxury hotel brands that are new to the United States are simply brands that are coming here for the first time that have been other places.
Right.
So we've certainly seen some of that. And, I would believe that, Four Seasons also has just opened their second location in New York. They are well under construction on their second location in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently saw the president speak last week, and he indicated they're looking at other markets to do that in the United States. So as they look to expand their footprint around the U.S. and maintain their status as the luxury standard, if you will.
Right.
But there's also some luxury brands that are looking to go through a pretty big renovation wave as we get to the other side of the cycle here, Glenn. And we know about, of course, W and kind of some of the changes at the highest end of the merged Starwood and Marriott company. I think we would definitely expect to hear some more talk about luxury brands up there and what they're going to do about renovation and remake and new prototypes and even new room designs coming out here soon.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Really fascinating. So, okay. I'm curious, with hotels getting smaller in size overall when it comes to new construction, Bruce, does that change how many, the percent of occupancy that these hoteliers hope to get? And does that affect their ability to, with rate charging as well? Because as we know, the average occupancy is 59.5% or something like that. So if you build a smaller hotel, your occupancy theoretically should go up and you should have more days sold out. But how does that affect pricing power, if at all?
Well, the theory of select service, Glenn, would be a little bit of a higher occupancy, maybe 4 or 5 points. Okay, we are dealing with occupancies in the nearly 66% on an average basis across the U.S. today. Those are historical highs. We may, in fact, see those historical highs continue to be challenged, although, the rate is probably in the other direction. It hasn't been able to grow as fast because there's not as many high-end hotels coming into the market.
Right.
And as you spread more of the types of hotels in the middle, the rate growth on those types of hotels may not be as aggressive. So we're still seeing a math problem where occupancy in many places is still slightly up and rate is up a little bit more, so we're still seeing a positive RevPAR production. But that is probably in the U.S. right now, we will talk about summer travel being absolute records. Gas is so cheap right now. I drove by a gas station with gas under $2 by my house.
What?
Just yesterday, under $2 a gallon.
Wow.
So, and we're floating right around the 205 to 215, have been for the past couple of weeks, and that's 60 to 70 cents less a gallon than you've seen just last summer, and 2 summers ago, it's like $1 less a gallon. That's a huge difference, Glenn.
Yeah,
an enormous difference for a family to get in the family truckster and head off for a vacation. It's more viable to do that today, and so I think we're going to hear about summer travel being pretty robust. The real question is, are the CEOs going to come back from their summer vacation and continue to spend at the corporate level?
Right.
I think those CEOs that are in the different tax bracket than you and I experience, Glenn, one of the monitors that we've seen out there that has been shared economically is that the people who are spending, the people who are in that highest tax bracket believe that, with a Republican in office, that it's advantageous for them to be spenders right now, and they are spending at increased rates. However, that doesn't necessarily translate to corporate continuing to spend on things like travel and conferences and corporate expense, because there hasn't been any tax law change, Glenn, which everybody would say they expected would be on the table today, and it isn't.
No,
So,
and it looks like Congress is eventually going to take a break and not address this issue at all in this current session.
Yeah, they don't have any consensus, Glenn. There's no consensus on exactly what to do and how to do it. And I'm not sure that's going to change anytime soon.
Right. There is seemingly some consensus happening now in the hospitality industry, to shift gears a little bit. And I've noticed all of a sudden cancellation policies seem to be front and center, but not being talked about. Marriott a few weeks ago decided they were going to go ahead and implement a 48-hour cancellation policy, which was followed pretty quickly behind by Hilton doing a 48-hour cancellation policy. And now IHG just this week announced that they're going to from a same-day to 24-hour cancellation policy. I've got plenty of thoughts on that, Bruce. How are you seeing these?
Well, the hotel companies are going to continue to change in the way the airlines did.
Yep.
Okay, and the airlines, it's kind of a one guy does it, everybody kind of follows.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not a guy who looks to manipulate the system that carries multiple reservations into a marketplace and I just decide which one's going to give me the better rate. I do know people that do that. Okay, and I think some of the cancellation policy has to do with the platforms with which you're booking. Okay,
Yep.
there's more prepayments, okay, out there today than ever.
Agreed.
In many cases, and so if they're offering these flexible rates to guests, I think they want to continue to control that inventory the best way that they can. And, when you have somebody who can cancel the day of up to 4 o'clock, you're not selling that room.
No, you're not. And it's almost not fair in that sense. So I kind of look at this issue in two ways. I put on my Wall Street hat, and I applaud them for this move because it's a good way to ensure people either keep their reservations or that income is guaranteed for both the hotel company and for the owners of the property. But as a consumer that might have a last-minute change of plans, I can't help but grumble and feel like the airlines are indeed what you said, Bruce, turning into the airlines and starting to lose a little bit of that customer centricity.
Well, this is why being loyal and being a rewards member for the hotel companies has never been more important. Obviously, they take care of the travelers that they deem to be their best customers. And, let's say you're stuck in Kansas City and can't get to Dallas, Glenn, and your hotel room's going to go dark that night. I'm not sure that if you're a gold member, that they're going to look to stick it to you, Glenn.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think they want to hear from you, okay?
Yes.
But I'm not necessarily sure that the point of these new cancellation policies is to stick it to their best guests.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, I've always been a proponent of that. I've said that to you for a long time. And in the hotel business, I can't be one company loyal. I carry all the cards.
Right.
I stay at them all. I check them all out.
Right.
I've knocked a few more brands off the list, Glenn, since the last time we talked. It's Bruce's goal to try and stay at as many different branded hotels as he can.
Yep.
To check out all the new prototypes, and even if I don't stay there, I will go look. And I drove by, a Home 2 Suites, which was the second one that I saw, but a prototype out in New York State I saw that I had to drive in and take a look, and I really do like that brand. And it is fair to say, Glenn, that most people would be surprised to know that in the Hilton family of brands, the hotel brand with the most new hotels in the new construction pipeline for Hilton is Home 2 Suites.
Wait, it's not true?
It is not true. It is not Hampton Inn. It is not Hilton Garden Inn. It is Home 2 Suites.
Wow. Well, I can see it not being a Hampton because they already have more than 2,000 of those bad boys. So that's got to be, at some point, it's a law of diminishing returns. You can't continue to build at the same frequent pace because all those markets taken. Home 2, I guess it's because they've been around for long enough that they're hitting their stride. The development community finally understands what this product is all about, and customers are starting to respond positively as well. True. I'm surprised that wasn't number one because I really thought it was from the amount of chatter that you hear about the brand.
Well, True has an impressive pipeline, Glenn. Don't get me wrong. True has 224 projects in the new construction pipeline, but Home 2 Suites has 343, and Homewood has 113, Hilton Garden Inn 134, and Hampton Inn 322.
Right. Awesome. That's pretty interesting. All right. The last thing I wanted to talk with you about today before we wrap up today's show is, I'm an unabashed Star Wars fan and an unabashed Disney fan. I know that you also favor those two types of things. I know it's kind of.
I think we should provide our listeners with the official warning, Glenn. This is the geek out alert.
Yeah.
We're going to geek out here for a minute. As I don't know who couldn't be excited about what I added up to be, must have been $100 billion in projects that Disney announced.
I know. All right, so
all over the world. So, a crazy amount of money they're going to spend.
Right. So I'm sure anybody listening to this program is savvy enough to know that D23 just held their every other year event in Anaheim, California, at the convention center over there. It's a celebration of the Disney community. It's called D23 because Disney started in 1923, so that's how that all relates. But the theme parks and resorts presentations, there are projects galore. We could talk about Guardians of the Galaxy rides, Ratatouille rides, Tron rides, and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that struck me most, because we are hoteliers, is the official announcement, which has been rumored for many, many months, is this Star Wars hotel, which should probably open 2021, 2022. Bruce, I'm amazed because I think it's going to reinvent immersive experiences in a way that we have never seen before. How do you see it?
Well, I think Disney probably has capability and capacity to do that, unlike a lot of companies. I think what they're able to do with the offerings that they have from the movies and the entertainment perspective, the capability they have with CGI, the capability they have simply to be able to take you through that experience. I mean, I have heard that the hotel is going to be more expensive than the Grand Floridian to stay at.
It's going to have to be.
Which will place it very much at the top of the market.
Yes, Bruce. I'm hearing $650 a night for the first person and $200 a night for each additional person per night.
Right.
It's going to be. I think it's important for everyone to understand that this is going to be more like a cruise ship type of pricing and basic experience than a traditional hotel experience. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I think it changes how we're going to interact from a leisure perspective with hotels from time to time in the future. I mean, $1,000 a day, which will include your meals and stuff like that, but also a full storyline that you're going to be participating in. So you're actually going to be put into a Star Wars story with all of the folks that are within the hotel dressed in character, and you're going to be going on missions and all of these kinds of things that really turn it from a passive experience into a very participatory experience in ways that I don't think anyone has ever attempted at this point. And I think this is the way that leisure-focused hotels are going to start to go in the future because it immunizes yourself from lower rates. Who the heck isn't going to spend $1,000 a night or so for their family to go do this for 2-day packages, 4-day packages, whatever they decide to do? It's going to be phenomenal.
Well, so let's place it on the Disney Resort property in Florida, Glenn. Do you think it's going to be contiguous to the back of Planet Hollywood or Hollywood Studios, where you're going to be able to get right into Star Wars land from the hotel?
I do. I think
direct line transportation. I mean, that seems to me, if you're really trying to do the immersive experience, it has to be contiguous, right?
Yes. Or, honestly, you go and you do your 2 or 3 days without leaving the footprint of the hotel, and then you combine it with the Star Wars Galaxy Edge land that they're building right now, opening in 2019.
Well, I would seem to me, Glenn, that if you were really trying to do this immersive experience, you would be able to go almost without having to be disturbed by the public from your guest room to a ride. I mean, it would seem to me that as much as you could do that, I mean, they announced the gondola-style transportation between the park and the existing Caribbean resort that they have. Wouldn't they just be adding a leg onto that, don't you think?
I think it might be, depending on where they put it, it might be close enough just to walk across the street to go into it. That's what I'm hearing from the rumor mill. And because I am a official nerd geek status, I listen to some of those related podcasts to Disney and stuff like that.
Dun, 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 dun.
I got to tell you though, Bruce, I love the gondola announcement. I'm so excited by that because one of the things that I love about the Disney vacation experience is feeling like you're being transported out of your everyday life. And if you're staying at a resort and you need to get on one of those buses, it reminds you that you're back in America, and it almost feels like I'm commuting. When I get on a monorail, I feel transported to somewhere else, just like Disney wanted. When I get on the gondola, I'm going to feel exactly the same way, although I might have a moment of confusion fearing that I may have to ski down the Star Wars experience. But overall, I think that's great because it's different, it's new, it's fun, and it avoids that hassle of having to wait forever for that bus.
Well, I would express to you that I've done it both ways, Glenn, in that I've stayed on Disney. I've probably stayed at Disney properties 7 times in the last 10 years. Okay, so I'm in the bus system, if you will, take the Magical Express from the airport.
Which I think is great,
but I
too.
have found that your experience is, in fact, different the less you have to get on the bus.
Right.
And I do, as a Disney Vacation Club member, I do enjoy staying at the Beach Club Resort and Villas, which you walk out your front door and you walk into the back door of Epcot, and that is a 6-minute walk.
Yes.
And there is a lot to be said for that. There's also a boat that's right out front of the hotel that takes you to Hollywood Studios.
Another great way to travel.
And that's a 10-minute event. You do have to get on the bus to go to the Magic Kingdom. You could also go into Epcot and get on the monorail to go to the Magic Kingdom. But I think being at the gate for being able to get into a park from your Disney property, I do find that to be different, and I do find that to be enjoyable, particularly when you have the kids, because you can, in fact, be back in your room much faster. And the only property that really has that, where you can literally walk from the hotel to the park, the only other one that really has it is the Contemporary, and that walk is a little perilous. It's not exactly close. It's not like being at the back of Epcot, which is your own gate.
Which is amazing.
It's your own gate.
Yeah.
I mean, no one else can park there. You're at the Beach Club, the Yacht Club,
and
the
boardwalk.
Swan and the Dolphin, and the Boardwalk. You can't even park there. So, I mean, it's a very different thing. And I am anticipating that the gondola system is going to change that a little bit, too, to provide some connectivity to Hollywood Studios as well. So,
all right, Bruce,
I'm
one thing.
I'm really excited, Glenn. There's also, so much more. We could do a whole podcast on the D23 thing.
I know.
If you haven't, for all of the listeners, if you haven't experienced it and you enjoy Disney, there are things literally to talk about at every Disney location all over the world right now with the new things that they're doing. And they're going to do an Avengers hotel in Paris, Glenn. That sounds really cool, too,
I know.
but it's so almost lost in the shuffle.
I know, because there was just so much news that was happening. Speaking of news, I just got breaking news via email, Bruce. Are you ready for this?
Breaking news.
La Quinta has officially filed for its real estate spinoff called Core Point Lodging. So not very much of a surprise for us insiders, but it's interesting to see how this is going to happen. It's going to create 2 distinct publicly traded companies following the spinoff transaction. Makes me wish I was one of the upper echelon employees at La Quinta. I'm thinking about all of that extra bonus money I'd be getting in the next couple of years.
Well, Glenn, I thought you said you were going to turn your damn email off when we were on the phone, but I guess not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. I turned off all the Facebook notifications and all of that kind of stuff, but this one came through, and I had to mention it. Any final words before we go into shameless plugs, Bruce Ford?
No, other than Lodging Econometrics is really putting out a lot of information on our LinkedIn page. As you know, if you haven't experienced the new LinkedIn these days, it is operating like a corporate Facebook kind of environment. There is a whole news feed, and we're putting information up that from our database that is regularly flowing, and that is our primary distribution method today. And you can find Lodging Econometrics on LinkedIn and follow the company, and you'll be in the know on new construction across the world for what you desire.
Excellent. I love it. Now, thank you so much for being here. As always, Bruce Ford. I want to thank everybody for listening. Just so you all know, I'm going away on vacation for the next couple of weeks. My first 2-week vacation, Bruce, since my honeymoon in 2002. I'm psyched about that, but do not fret. Do not worry. You will still be getting a new show each week here at No Vacancy, and expect to get lots of videos because I'm going on a trip of a lifetime, Bruce. I'm headed off to Israel, so you'll get great pictures of me in the Dead Sea and maybe riding a camel or two.
Glenn, I wish you and your family the best. Travel safe, enjoy the time away, and 2 weeks off is a nice breather, my friend. So we'll see you next month.
Yes, I will see you on the show next month, Bruce Ford, but I will see everybody else on the show right after this commercial break because we got a lot more great content this week, next week, the week after, and every other week until I drop dead. So let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. What an uplifting way to end this segment. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here, and if you're like me, then I know that you love terrific art. Art that creates a sense of place. Art that tells a story of where you are. Art that adds a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. And great folks that do this, Kevin Barry Fine Art Associates. You can find them online at kevinbarryfineart.com, and I highly encourage that you check them out. One recent project that I'm totally in love with is the Fairmont Washington Dc, where they created a custom project with a local artist, and they created some of this on site. They actually created a multi-dimensional wall sculpture from gold blocks, which is an abstracted map grid of the Washington, D.C. area. It's got different elevations to it and looks absolutely fantastic. It was done along with Deborah Forrest and Amanda Jackson of Forrest Perkins, which is now Perkins Eastman. And they all work together to create this fabulous new look. So if you want to create a fabulous new look for your hotel, or if you just love great art, check out kevinbarryfineart.com or give him a call at 310-945-2655. Let him know Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Okay, perfect. That's what I like. I don't like too much pressure with these interviews. I find that if there's too much pressure, then it's just a disaster. Mostly for me, not for the people that I speak with. And speaking of talking to people, I'm with Craig Greenberg, president of 21C Museum Hotels, and I'm psyched to be talking to you today because I've never seen one, I've never experienced one, I've checked out the website, but every event that I go to, and I go to all the major hotel industry events, people are talking about you, and you're up to something pretty good. So take it away. You talk for the next 30 minutes. I'll just right. No pressure.
That's great.
Tell me a little bit about where the brand came from. I understand it started as like a restoration kind of a project, right?
Yeah, so we're from Louisville, Kentucky.
Right.
The founders of our company, Steve Wilson and Laura Lee Brown, are avid contemporary art collectors, and they're also passionate about revitalizing urban areas to help prevent suburban sprawl. And so they decided over 10 years ago, 13, 14 years ago.
Been that long?
To help. Well, we opened our first one 11 years ago this month. So by the time when we first started thinking about it, they were really passionate about doing something to help revitalize their hometown of Louisville, Kentucky through contemporary art in an area on the west side of downtown that was in need of revitalization at that time. And so off we went. I was their lawyer at the time, and none of us had any hotel experience, but we had the passion for what we were doing with this one project. And really, built 21C in Louisville to achieve those goals. We wanted contemporary art to be more accessible to people from all walks of life without the usual hurdles and barriers that traditional museums put up, like charging for admission,
right,
limited hours, being in an inconvenient location. And around that, we wanted to have a great hotel and a great restaurant and bar experience. And so all of that together became 21C Museum Hotel, never once thinking that we were going to do more than just that one project in our hometown of Louisville.
Yeah, now, all right. Now, I definitely want to talk about all of those things. But the first thing that strikes me most interesting is that you weren't hoteliers. And most people would probably argue that that was a hindrance. But if you didn't know what the rules were, it was probably a lot easier to reinvent them.
That is exactly right. We often say that we didn't even know what the box was to think outside of. And
I like that.
We just did. Steve and Laura Lee are avid travelers. They've traveled around the world, and they've stayed at a lot of hotels, great ones, not so great ones. And so they had a really strong vision about what they thought hospitality meant. And it means having great people that are warm, we come from Louisville, Kentucky. There's a lot of Southern hospitality there. And we just wanted to hire genuine people that made you feel good, that when you got off your plane or got out of your car, it was a totally new experience, very welcoming, and all built around art, great food, great local products. And so that's what it became. We didn't have pretense about what we were doing or who we were. We didn't know that much about the hotel industry at the time. And like you said, I think that's been a great thing. And we've made some mistakes along the way. We continue to make mistakes. Some of those mistakes we fixed. Others have turned out to be the best thing. like one good example of that is we were rehabbing 5 historic buildings when we did this first 21C in Louisville. And we couldn't figure out where to put the bathrooms. And so the public bathrooms for the folks going to the restaurant, it had to be at the other end of the building, which every restaurateur will tell you is not great. You want the restrooms to be close to where you're sitting.
Except for casino guys. They make you leave the restaurant and go all the way across the building.
That's right. Well, we didn't know anything about casinos, so we didn't know that rule either. But it turned out that our restaurant guests had to walk through some of our main contemporary art gallery spaces to get to the restroom. And that turned out to be a great thing. Sometimes people would be gone for 20 minutes from their table, and their colleagues at the table would be wondering where the heck they went. But then they'd come back in, they'd get them, because we have a different entrance to our restaurant. We have a great restaurant that's really driven by a local crowd as much as our hotel, who sometimes at the beginning didn't even know they were connected to a contemporary art museum and a hotel. And they would have this wonderful, unexpected experience that is really what we're all about. We love to surprise people. We love the unexpected, whether it's through a new art exhibition or just turning a corner and seeing something new. Great design, great hospitality. And so that's one of our mistakes that we really incorporated. And we said, you know what? We're going to start doing this in all of our hotels, make you walk through some of the gallery space to get to the restroom from the restaurant.
And I love the whole idea of art. One of the things that I talk about, I do speaking engagements throughout the country, talking to different hotel companies and all. And one of the things that I discuss are creating social media moments, right? You have to stop, you have to look, and then you have to share it with the world. It sounds like by having a hotel focused on art exhibits in the public spaces, you're really ahead of the curve with that kind of thing.
Well, I would like to say that we did that by design.
No,
however,
definitely not by design.
In 2006, when we opened our first 21C, none of us even knew what social media was. But you are right. We have a lot of social media moments. The contemporary art that we display lends itself to that. A lot of it is interactive. We have a great piece in Louisville called Text Rain that has falling letters that it projects an image of you onto the screen that you can play and catch the letters. We have a lot of interactive art at a lot of our properties. And with the art rotates, the rooms constantly are taking on new feels. And so people really enjoy immersing themselves in the art in the moment and also for social media. So that's worked out well.
I'm one of those guys that I love the idea of museums, but I don't necessarily go and seek out museums, right? But whenever I'm in that atmosphere, I love it. Now, last week I happened to go to one museum. I was in London, and I went to go to the British Museum because it's great to see, all of the stuff that was pillaged from around the world. That's really super duper old, right? But I think contemporary art is fascinating and interesting, and I would never have put Louisville together with strong contemporary art. So you're educating people as well, in a sense, I would say.
We definitely, Steve and Laura Lee are very passionate about using the art to cause people to think about things in a new way. And whether that's just stimulating conversation with a friend, whether that's provoking you to think about a political issue, a social issue, an environmental issue, a entertainment issue, a sexual issue, whatever it might be. If the art causes you to think and talk more with other people, hopefully laugh often as well,
right,
that's what we're all about. And so we don't expect everyone to like every piece of art. We don't expect them to agree with the statement every artist is making, and not all of the art is politically charged,
right,
per se. It's just the fact that what we display as living artists, it's truly art of the moment.
Well, art should provoke, and it should give you a real strong emotion, either positive or negative. I think when you're talking about art, they're both equally valid in a lot of ways. And it creates that conversation that you're talking about and ups the level of excitement, and makes me wonder how many people are coming just to see the art. Forget about the hotel component, which we haven't even spoken about yet.
We have a lot of people that come at our hotels, being in the central business district areas and the urban areas of the communities that we're in. There are a lot of people who will stop by just to come check out our art. Again, we have very accessible hours at all times of the day and night. And if people are in town looking for an experience, they
right,
do. And so whether it's in Cincinnati or in Oklahoma City or in Bentonville, Arkansas, where we have a great hotel nearby, Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art.
A great hotel, one of the top hotels in the country, according to Travel and Leisure magazine.
We are
right?
fortunate to have gotten several of those awards at our hotels. That's something that we're proud of and always humbled when we receive. But whether you're coming with us to drink, to eat, to stay, or just to check out the art, we welcome everybody. And that's what we love about the art. It creates a wonderful energy in the space. And we know there are a lot of other hotels, art hotels, so to speak, or hotels that use art as decoration. But one thing that's different about 21C is we're a true museum hotel. All of our public spaces...
It's right there in the name.
It's right there. There's no guessing about it. All of our shows are curated by Alice and Steve and Laura Lee and the whole museum team. And we rotate the exhibitions around the properties sometimes. And we also have site-specific art. We also do a lot of art programming. So it's not just art that we're displaying, but there's truly art of all sorts going on within the hotel on a regular basis.
I like what you're saying. It's a lot more than just having art in the hotel. And I've seen general art in a hotel become a lot more sophisticated over the last decade or so. Instead of just having those boring prints, then you turn to great photography that's of the location, and then you saw more complex art installations. But you're really talking about real museum quality type pieces, and I love that they're curating these exhibits. How much time and effort is put into it, and are they local people or just things that strike the owners as something that's relevant to the art scene?
All of the above.
Right.
So we have art exhibitions, as I mentioned, featured artists that are living artists, and Steve and Laura Lee remain avid collectors, and so they're often acquiring new works that are added to the collection. So
some of these things are part of their personal collection.
Yeah, that are going into now the 21C collection, broadly defined. And then, but we also borrow. We are a real museum, so we loan out our pieces to other museums. We're in New York right now. We recently loaned out a few pieces to the Brooklyn Museum that we're doing a retrospective on Kehinde Wiley. And
Wow.
we also borrow art from other museums, from collectors, from artists, from galleries to create whatever unique exhibition we're looking to create. And so while Steve and Laura Lee are very active in it, Alice Stites is our chief curator, and she has a wonderful team that curates the art, that stores the art, that ships the art. We have a registrar. We are a true museum in addition to a hotel.
That sounds really expensive. Besides the passion of it, how do you turn that into you get the ROI on this by selling food, drinks, rooms, all of that?
Well, we think art is one of the things about 21C that brings people to our hotels. Mm-hmm. And so everyone wants a value these days. We know that. We seek to provide people with a good value. We provide them with a great room, with great hospitality, and also wonderful art, great food, great drinks, great service. And so together it's part of the package. It's why people pay to stay with us, pay to eat with us, pay to have events with us, is because of the art. So we have definitely, that's also unique for the museum world. While we weren't from the hotel world, we weren't from the museum world either. Certainly Steve and Laura Lee were avid collectors, and they're on the board of the Whit Museum and very active in the museum community. But we sort of break the rules of the museum community as well, letting people have events in our spaces, mm-hmm. And really having commerce driven by the art is also pretty unique.
It's very encouraging because I feel in a lot of ways we've lost sight of art as part of our lives. We're so focused on these little screens that we have in our pockets, and people don't really connect to art as readily as before. And it's exciting to see you bringing this back and people responding to it so positively.
Yeah, some of the people that love their 21C experience the most are the people who didn't even know they were coming to a museum hotel, who had never really interacted with art before, didn't like art, didn't even really think about art, but just a piece captured them, or they were just blown away because it was so different than anything they thought about. And that's what we love the most, is when you really, art opens people's eyes or also brings them in to start thinking about just art in a new way. I mean, I historically, before meeting Steve and Laura Lee, I was not a quote art guy.
Well, you were a lawyer.
Right. I was a boring lawyer.
Yeah.
And, and most of the people who stay with us are not art people, so to speak. I mean, they're not. We have a lot of artists that stay with us. We have a lot of people who love the art world and museums, but that is not the bulk of the folks who stay with us or eat with us.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an art person, but I certainly love to be in that atmosphere. And if I was at one of your hotels, I think I would feel better about myself for being there. You know?
Well, we hope that's the case with everyone, and we think that's the case. We also think it really stimulates people to be creative. And one of the reasons we think we're very successful with having a lot of corporations use our hotel for meetings and events is because being around art is very, very different than just being in another hotel conference room or ballroom with white walls and maybe some of those prints you were talking about earlier. That's pretty typical, but when you're in a 21C museum hotel gallery space having your business event, hopefully that is stimulating thought and creativity that I think a lot of the businesses that do business with us appreciate and enjoy, and that's one of the reasons they come to us.
I love that notion of having it stimulate creativity, because when I'm in a hotel, I've got to be functioning, I've got to work, I need inspiration in a lot of ways, and you're helping create that gateway for people and see things a little bit differently. So how much stuff is on display in a typical hotel? You say it's a big museum, but I keep going back to to what I've been trained to think in the hotels, which is just a couple of pieces in the lobby that might be done by a local artist, and
right.
I almost envision like a little price tag in the corner of it.
No, and that's one thing also. I mean, we are a real museum. We are not selling the works of art. I know there are some hotels art hotels that do sell, but our works are not for sale.
Jewish delis, they are great at selling
that is
art.
true.
Yeah, right?
We need one of those in some of the cities that we're in. I know there are a lot here in New York, but
not like there used to be. That
is true. That is true. Okay, so I forgot the question.
It doesn't matter. We're on to Jewish delis now.
On to Jewish delis.
I just want to know where to get a good pastrami and rye in Louisville is, but I guess there isn't. But
it is very difficult.
No, but the question is, how much is on exhibit? What is the size?
Right. So we have overall at our we currently have 6 properties open. We have 2 under construction.
One of them is Nashville, which we'll be here celebrating this evening.
That is right. We'll open Nashville in a few months. We're really excited about that property. So with the 6 hotels that we have open right now, we have about 60,000 square feet of exhibition space. At any time, I would say there are a couple hundred works of art on display at any one hotel. It obviously depends on what the exhibit is, their size, what is being shown versus what is in storage or being on loans on the project.
Small pieces compared to giant installations, the numbers are going to change.
But I would say it's definitely 150 to 200 pieces at any property at a given time. In the rooms, for example, we don't rotate the art in the rooms. We usually just have one piece of art there.
Well, that first hotel has, 90 rooms?
Correct.
Right.
Our largest hotel right now is 156, and we have everything in between.
To be fair, it'd be impractical to continue.
Well, and also, we want to use the art to generate energy in the public spaces amongst people. I don't know about you when you travel, but when I travel, I either want to totally crash, watch a bit of TV before I'm going to sleep, do work, or get dressed. That's really about it.
Yeah.
And so we try to make the rooms as comfortable as possible. So we really want to have a residential feel to the rooms, make them very comfortable, clean, an oasis from the craziness of our worlds today. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're focused on the rooms even more so than the art. We really let the art drive the energy in the public spaces. And, we're here at Deborah Burke Partners' offices right now doing this interview. She's been a design architect for all of our projects, going back to the first one in Louisville. And they're wonderful at helping us achieve that, to create wonderful, residential, comfortable spaces for our rooms.
That's beautiful. It's interesting to me that you want people to be really super comfortable in the rooms, but you also have the public space of it. Now, the hotel industry in general has gone crazy cuckoo gaga about claiming that people don't want to be in their rooms anymore. All they want to do is hang out in the lobby. Are you maximizing that space in terms of having people be productive in the art galleries, or is it kind of separate and the restaurant's kind of separate? How is that all?
No, we are. It all functions together, and there is no doubt that the move towards communal spaces, we're seeing that too. And so we are, I would say we're approaching our design and the way our public spaces function a little bit differently today than we did 12 years ago or 13 years ago when we designed our first 21C. But it's still the same philosophy that art is driving the energy, and maybe now we have more communal tables at our restaurants than we originally did. Maybe we have some more lobby space where people want to work and also be served food and drink. So we understand that, we agree with that, and we see that. But we also still think there are a lot of people who want or need privacy for certain things, and so the room should provide comfort when you're in your room.
Well, that's my attitude. I'm on that camp. I don't believe that people are checking into hotels for the sake of hanging out in the lobby. You know,
right?
I mean,
people want a strong Wi-Fi signal in their room.
Right.
They want a hot shower with good water pressure. They want a comfortable bed. They want clean sheets. They want a HVAC unit where they can control the temperature and it actually works. You know, where they want good lighting in the restroom.
Yeah.
All those things are things we try to provide.
Exactly. Are all the hotels owned and operated by you folks?
They are all operated by us.
But
so
different owners.
Yes. So we own some of the properties through our company. We also have local partners in several of our hotels as well. And then recently, just over a year ago, we announced a joint venture partnership with Junius Real Estate Partners, which is a real estate private equity fund that's affiliated with JP Morgan Chase, and they are our private equity partner on real estate projects as well. The first one that will open with them will be Nashville. We're under construction in Kansas City, and working on several others with them as well.
So I see a lot of potential for this brand going forward, and specifically because you're not caught up with the idea of New York and Miami and San Francisco. You're giving love to cities that are those what I would call second-tier cities, because I'm a spoiled New Yorker and I don't think anything else counts. But smaller cities that don't have as big of a population, I would say, but still have strong cultural centers and a desire for a great upscale-type product.
Yeah, we have been really happy with the cities that we're in: Louisville, Cincinnati, Bentonville, Arkansas, Lexington, Kentucky, Durham, North Carolina, Oklahoma City have all been great cities to develop hotels in, now operate hotels in, and we're excited about the ones that we're in. We are looking at some larger cities, so Indianapolis, Indiana is another city that we've announced a project in, and you just mentioned Miami. We've also announced a project in the design district of Miami.
Oh, awesome.
And
that's a great location for it, obviously.
We're really excited about that one.
Yeah.
And we are we've looked at some things in New York and LA and other cities as well, and we think we can be very successful there, but we haven't yet gone there. But you're right, we're going to continue to look at, there's so many cities in America and internationally for that fact, that we think a 21C could be successful in, while many others in the hotel industry are just ignoring those spaces.
Yeah, I mean, I could see you like in Barcelona or something like that. It's that same kind of vibe to me, that same artsy kind of universe. So you have different owners. Would you ever be open to the idea of either franchising them or just management deals for a lot of different owners?
Well, right now we're focused on being the brand and management company. So there are a lot of hotels where there might be, one brand, a Marriott or a Hyatt, and then another third-party management company unrelated to the brand, and you have both of those coexisting in the same property. Right now, we are both the brand and management company. We think that's important, particularly given how small we are, that a large part of the brand is management type stuff.
It just feels right.
They're
for what
related,
you guys are
so
about.
That's what's working. We don't have to be the real estate owner, though, and so we are very open to projects in which we don't own the real estate. We've been talking to some folks about various things, but so far, all of our projects that we've either done or that we are doing, we own at least some portion of the real estate as well.
If you had to put yourself into a category, upscale, upper upscale, mid-scale, what would you consider yourself, or are you an outlier and just boutique?
I would like to think none of the above. I mean, that's one of those.
But we force everybody
I know we force it. Well, that's one of the things about the hotel industry, that coming to it from an outsider, it's crazy. I mean, Smith Travel Research needs those categories for breakpoints to provide certain data. But the way so many different hotel brands and hotels, whether they're a brand or not a brand, are evolving, is those old school categories just don't work.
Right.
I mean, every boutique hotel conference I go to has the same discussion about what does a boutique hotel mean? What does an independent hotel mean? I don't think anyone has come to a greater consensus today than they were 5 years ago on that. And when you look at upscale and upper upscale and luxury, it's almost like people back into that based on what rate they're charging or what the other markets are. And I occasionally just laugh, or I'm confused sometimes when I read about what some of the bigger brands are doing when they announce a new brand and they talk about these very defined swim lanes.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's the way people are making hotel choices today. I understand people make choices based on price, based on location, but the difference between some of these brands is very confusing to me. We want 21C to be a differentiated, unique brand that stands for something that has nothing to do the way with people have classified hotels in the past.
That's a great approach, and I wish I could add a little bit more texture there because I haven't stayed at any of them. I don't really have that depth of knowledge. But
we need to get you to one of our properties.
I'd love to get there. As soon as I get to one of those cities, I am so going to check it out. But what I find interesting is you're absolutely right. All the major companies that have all these myriad brands out there, now they're like, this brand gets $99 a night, and this other brand we have gets $79 a night, so we got to invent something that gets $89
exactly,
a night,
that's
right? So they look at the price point first without really thinking about what it is that the customer is going to be experiencing. But I think they're also banking on the fact that they want to have a product in every single category, so whatever me as the customer's needs are, I'm going to want to use one of their family of brands.
And I understand if you're a big company that's in a lot of markets already and you want to grow, you need to create new brands to grow, to provide that opportunity for your company and for the developers that you work with and the owners that you work with. So I totally understand that. To me, it seems like that's much more the focus than because there's this great need in the market for this new in-between tier that's yet to be discovered. We have the people that stay at 21C are all ages. They're from all parts of the country. They're of all sorts of professions. And, our demographics are all over the place because what people are looking for today, there's so much, people are very focused on the millennials, for example.
I can't stand that.
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think, we see a lot of younger travelers that are coming in, but my parents in their 70s, they like good Wi-Fi service too. They're watching shows using streaming video too. They want to meet people when they travel. Those are all things that people say just millennials want, but the reality is all of us are changing. All of us are looking for new experiences when we travel beyond just a bed and a bathroom. And there are some people who aren't. And for them, there are a lot of great hotels to serve their need, and I understand the need for that as well.
Well, you and I are like-minded. I swear I've been saying exactly that line for years. I think that the millennial thing is a real red herring because they are younger and adapting to technology quicker and seem to have more obvious changes of habits. People are believing that they're so different and alien than their other generations. But me as a Gen X guy, my mom as a baby boomer person, we're just a little bit slower with that, but we want exactly the same things. It's just I still like to make face-to-face contact instead of texting someone across the table. That's really the only difference.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And there might be some things on like the new movement for some of these hostels that are coming out have really unique properties that some of which are doing really well. I'm not sure my parents are going to be staying in a hostel-like environment, and so maybe that's an age thing. But for the most part, when I think that's not the category that we're focused on in that particular way.
When I was in my 20s and going to see, fish shows up and down the East Coast, me and 5 friends could all sleep in the same room and the floor and stuff like that. Now that I'm in my 40s and seeing fish shows, I want my own room.
Is Fish still touring?
Yeah, they're doing 13 nights here at Madison Square
Really?
Garden in July.
I saw them in Ann Arbor, Michigan, when I was in college at University of Michigan.
Nice.
In the early 90s myself.
Well, we're probably around the same age group. I'm a New York guy, so I've been going to shows since 1990 or something like that. But anyway, we'll do the Fish Radio show next week. Let's get back to 21C hotels. My big question is to you: what happens in 83 years when you have to become 22C hotels?
That is a very good question and a very good problem that I look forward to dealing with. Yes.
Well, we'll let the Generation Z or whatever comes out after that.
That's it.
We're almost out of time. Is there anything else that we really need to know about what the 21C experience is all about before I let you give some shameless plugs?
No, I think we've covered a lot of it. It's very tough to describe 21C and talk about who we are. It's very tough to show pictures to convey what we do and that we are different. So I encourage anyone who is interested in a wonderful hospitality experience, who likes good food from the localities in which they're in, that is interested in checking out some really innovative contemporary art, come visit us at 21C Museum.
So let me ask you about the food thing before we wrap up. It's got to be of the location, right? If it's not localized food, then there seems to be no point to it in a property such as your own. Are you partnering with local chefs, or how does that whole thing work with you guys? The
whole food and beverage operation is part of the same 21C family. Mm-hmm. And so we do operate our food and beverage operations a little bit differently than other hotels, where the food and beverage director is a co-equal on the property with the general manager of the hotel. We try to hire great chefs. Each one of our 21C museum properties has its own restaurant identity, so we have a new concept for each location based on the site that we're going into. And really, we're as much or more a restaurant and bar for locals as we are for our hotel, because we have so few rooms.
And it has to be that way in order for it to be successful.
It definitely does. And I'm fortunate to have some great colleagues who come from the F&B world that are wonderful at developing and operating wonderful restaurants and bars that just happen to be in a hotel.
How do you see food as art?
That's a great question. I mean, we have looked at that. We've talked about that. I think a lot of people are starting to view it that way. Yeah. We view our chefs as true artists. I mean, what they do with the ingredients that they have blows me away every time I see new menu items, and it's really fun to eat at our restaurants.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about going to upscale restaurants is just how gorgeous the plating can be, which is why I ask you that question.
And let me clarify one thing, because when you say upscale restaurants, I think we have great restaurants. They're certainly not fancy.
I say upscale because
it's just the quality of the food.
On the plating.
Yeah, so the quality of the food and service we think is very high.
Right.
But folks are looking for a comfortable environment in their dining experiences and drinking experiences today, just as they are in other walks of life.
That being said, I love food up and down the spectrum. There's a fried chicken place around the corner that looks really freaking awesome, but I know I'm going to have some good hors d'oeuvres here, and I'm not going to get over there. But,
wonderful.
Yeah. So where are some of the cities that you're located in besides Nashville, which is opening in just a couple of months?
We are open right now in Louisville, Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, Bentonville, Arkansas, Durham, North Carolina, Oklahoma City, and Cincinnati, Ohio.
The Bentonville one is not in the lobby of a Walmart, right?
It is not. It's down in downtown Bentonville in the town square. Bentonville is a wonderful place. If you have not been to Bentonville, Arkansas, I would strongly encourage people to come. It has great restaurants. It has great outdoor things to do outdoors. A wonderful museum in Crystal Bridges. A really, really neat place to visit.
It really frustrates me that I don't get to a lot of these smaller cities as much as I'd like. All of the events that I go to is freaking Vegas or Orlando all the time, or LA or Miami, all the big cities. I got to go to Omaha in November, and got a real kick out of it because I'd never been there before. So I'd love to check out Bentonville sometime. That's for sure.
There's a lot of wonderful things going on in this country outside of the big cities as well.
Yes, and all of you big city folk, you got to remember that too. But I don't want to get into big city folk versus smaller city folk, because we'll save that for a political discussion another day. Craig Greenberg, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
It was a great time, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to dedicate my life to touring museum hotels in the future. Guys, thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.